Hey guys, Mike here. So I hope everybody has had a great weekend so far. So we're going to set the week up. And if you're going to watch any part of this video, make sure you do not miss the first 3.5 minutes of the video. Okay, that's the most important part. I'm going to show you some stuff right here. And it's very important. I'm telling you right now. And then we'll go through some very important charts, certain levels we're looking at, certain stocks to look at, some stocks that are getting really pushed up. And you'll see what I'm talking about and why, whatever you want to call them, big money, hedge funds, whatever it is, are really trying to push these stocks up. Again, it's just amazing to me. But this is the key here. Understand what's going to happen here the rest of the year. And this is a really interesting stat. It's 100% win rate so far historically. And this says election years have never been lower after a red midterm year. And if you look here, you see there's only been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 instances of this, right? And so going back to 1960, you can see the midterm year was red, pre-election year was super green, and then to the right, where the election year is, which is what we're in right now, pretty green. I mean, really green, actually. So, usually double digits. I mean, George W. only had 9%, and who else was that? His daddy had 4.5%. And then, of course, going back to Lyndon Johnson, but everybody else was double digits. So, we'll see if this is going to happen. Now, the reason why you think it will probably happen is simple. A few reasons here. One, here's your breadth. So these are stocks in the S&P. That's a 20 moving average, the 50 moving average, the 200 moving average. All have 80% or higher ratings, which means stocks in the S&P, 80% of them are above these moving averages. And that does not surprise me at all. Why does that not surprise me? Because I said it's so important to track breadth that in the Monday through Friday morning news brief, when we get the news and everything else, we go over breadth and sentiment and all that stuff, right? And right here, where's the NASDAQ at? Above the 200 moving average, 76%. It's going to be higher by tomorrow, by the way, by Monday, because this goes through Friday. S&P, 80%. Russell 2000, look at this one, 58%, right? So it lags. It has 2,000 stocks. That would be why. But again, this is important stuff. That's why it goes in here. Okay, that's why you have to follow your liquidity, your market breadth. This is something you're interested in, like. Again, what do we go over here? You get your intro, you get your major news, your market breadth, your sentiment, you get your option ranges, you get max pain, everything all in one right here, okay? So it's pretty easy to see. You get the trend also. I just added that one in. So you'll know from the long-term to short-term trends what they are doing. And if you like it, it's a whopping $7.99 on the Patreon. Hit the link down below. Now, what's another thing moving this? It is the liquidity cycle. This is the global liquidity cycle right here. Started back in late 2022. Probably going to peak out in 2025. And what drives markets? Liquidity. Okay. And so again, it's not a straight up on the charts or anything, but when this peaks out, that's when you start to see, a pullback in the market. Doesn't always work out perfectly, but it's amazing how so far this has worked out. Now, what's another one? And guys, before we continue, please hit that like button. It really helps people find the video, and think about subscribing if you like a finance channel who does not try to talk over your head. It's the fact that central banks are looking to cut this year. You have 11 central banks that are talking about 2024 cuts. I believe the Swiss actually went ahead and did a 25 basis point cut. And so when you look at that chart, you can see that's another thing that will be loosening again, assuming we're not in the recessions, okay, assuming this is a soft landing, whatever. But that is a bullish thing for the markets. So you have the presidential election on your side with the seasonality of that. You also have the market breadth is huge, keeps expanding out. Liquidity is on our side, or the market side that is. And then you have financial conditions, which have been loosening. So if they start cutting around the world, right, and the market goes, woo, that's even better. Yay, we like that, okay? And so again, maybe we're in a recession, maybe we're not. That's what you got. That's what, we'll have to wait and see. Nobody can really truly predict that one. Now, on the S&P, what do we see on Friday, right? Came back down, did close this gap right here before moving back up. We look right here. Now, again, I wanted a 5,200 test. Maybe we get it, maybe we don't, right? I'd love to see it, make that support, right? That would be nice. But also, we mitigate this fair value gap right here, as I actually don't need an arrow, I need a circle. But, that will be a good thing and a bullish thing as well to go ahead and balance that out. And we go up here to a daily, you can see it's actually a daily fair value gap. And the one thing the S&P has done well in this channel has moved up is mitigated these imbalances on the way up. Again, gap ups, like you see right there, aren't going to feel all the time like gap downs. but it is good to mitigate the imbalances when you can. Usually, if you get a big sell-off, just start spotting where your largest fair value gaps are, and sometimes you'll see it. That will be the stopping point. And so I'd love to see us retest that, maybe mitigate some of that daily fair value gap. That would be bullish. Now, looking at the breadth, speaking of that, you look at QQEW and RSP, right? They're hanging right in there with the SPY and the QQQ. So more stocks are being bought up, more stocks are hitting new 52-week highs, more stocks are moving above these major moving averages and all that good stuff. So that is a good thing to see. What's helping this is stocks like NVDA. Huge day on Friday, kept getting pushed up. How did it get pushed up? This is what I'm talking about, hedge funds, big money. What's UBS do? They come out and increase the price target to 1,100 from 800. That is a huge price target increase. And that's why I keep saying they want this thing to 1,000, right? And maybe they're going to get their wish. You can see it finally broke out of that range. Again, we'll probably come down. I'd like to see a retest of it. Well, I'd like to see a retest of it. I'll show you in a minute, but you can see, what is this? This is what was left over from a fair value gap, right? What did it do? It came up to the penny, and it mitigated that fair value gap, sold off the rest of the time, okay, and just kind of traded sideways and down. All right, so again, if we look why I want to retest of that level right here, because why is touched multiple times, 1, 2, 3 times right there, okay? And so that's why I want to see come down, see a retest right there before moving higher. Again, is that going to happen? Maybe we get to see something like this play out. If we get the retest, it comes up, test this level right here. Again, this is not going to work out perfectly. And then moves up like that right there. Gets rejected right here at this level, which was the previous all-time high. And then we move up. Again, it is NVIDIA. It does like to go straight up, but that would be nice to see because it's constructive, and I like to see constructive charts. Now, Google, another one here. Look at that right there. Green day for Google, even though it was getting investigated yesterday and dropped and all that good stuff. This one's done a major 180 off that trend line right there. The bulls are in charge. The MACD is above the 0 line. RSI is looking really good. Of course, what happened? Webb Bush comes out and says, yay, it's the beneficiary of AI. And guess what? We're going to increase its price target to 175 from 160, right? And so this one will probably end up going back to all-time highs fairly quickly because it's almost only 2% away. Now, watch Uber here. I find this chart to be interesting because it had a big move up, but you got bearish divergence on the RSI on the daily, right? It's been going on for a long time. It's come back down. It's held this trend line, which is really nice. Well, you look at what's setting up here. It looks like a flat top. Somebody coined a flat top, so I tend to like that saying right there. But flat tops, when you see it start to come up and it keeps testing the level and coming back down and testing the level and testing the level, right? And so if this happens, usually what happens is it eventually breaks out. The only thing that makes you kind of go, is the fact you got that bearish RSI divergence and it's had such a big move up. But it is consolidating sideways. Again, when you come out on the weekly in this thing, I mean, this thing is well above all-time highs at this point in time, believe it or not. And so we'll see if you finally start to see weakness, or we finally break through and get another big move higher because there's no resistance above it, right? Another one's going to be AMD, which is a very interesting spot right here because it's broken through the trend line to the downside, holding the 50 moving average like crazy as we speak. But in the MACD, I mean, it looks like it's trying to turn up. And, you know, look at this right here. I can tell you right now, I know a lot of people are going in calls on this one. So we'll see if it pays off for them or not. But again, it's a good spot. I think you'd want to see a little more strength. But again, now it's got to make it through what would be the previous all-time high in January right there. That'll be resistance now as it comes back up. And it's kind of lagging, right? Because a lot of the other semiconductors are moving. You know, maybe it's the PE on this thing. I don't know what it is. But right now it's just back in that consolidation area. But another thing is, it is in that consolidation area where it consolidated for weeks, right? So it's not just going to cut right through it unless you get some crazy news on it or whatever. And when you look at, you know, the shorter time frames, I mean, that MACD just has to start moving. You have to get more momentum pushing into this thing. So see if it gets a price upgrade, some crazy news maybe comes out, or the other semis start to drag it up. That's what you need to see. But it's interesting, this kind of moving in the opposite direction what the other semis are doing. Now, looking at Tesla, which I'm not going to look at the chart, but I understand the reason why they went down on Friday was because they cut production in China. Right? China is still a cancer to anybody who has big exposure, like I told the members. Now, IWM, this one right here, another interesting spot to be in because it sold down on Friday. Got the 2023 high retest that I talked about on Thursday, I believe it was, and it did bounce from there. Wouldn't like to actually see, I actually need a circle and not an arrow here. If it does break back down, we can see it mitigate that daily fair value gap. That would be nice to see a reaction off that to move up. But again, we got 2023 high retest, and we'll turn that into support maybe and continue to start to move higher. That will be nice. And so we'll see if that continues. Again, the MACD is above the 0 line, the RSI. But one thing that's going to be interesting to see too is that this thing at some point in time just starts to trade sideways, because it's famous for that. Just getting in here for weeks of trading sideways and building out some kind of support level, right? And you see how hard it's been to break above that and stay above that. So, we'll see that's going to continue. And the reason why I asked that, because earnings season is over, so that catalyst is gone. And you see how quickly this list of 2,000 stocks turns to red. This was Friday. Used to, you can go almost 3/4 down, it was still green. Now, over the last few weeks, I've been looking at this thing. It's like, nope, not happening, right? And SMCF is not having its large moves anymore. And so it's going to be real interesting to see what continues to push the IWM up with all these catalysts going, if they continue to roll into these low float, small cap stocks. Now, when it comes to earnings, you look on this list and tell me how many you recognize. I'm sure you're going to say GameStop. Really, you get to Wednesday, you got Carnival Cruise Lines. That's something to look at. Cintas, Paycheck's going to let know a lot about us and stuff like that. Rumble, RH. Let's see what else we got here. HUD 8's a minor on Thursday, but nothing that is gonna sit here and set the market off and go, "Ooh, man, we're in trouble." Look to the left too. Is something called Bitcoin Depot. I never heard of that one. That's on Monday. So let me know in the comments if you actually recognize any of these or own any of these stocks. Now, at the economic calendar on Monday, you're gonna have a lot of economic data coming out. I don't know how much of it's gonna affect the markets. A lot of housing data is gonna be coming out, man. I'm telling you, building permits, new home sales, all that stuff. A lot of manufacturing data is gonna be coming out as well. And so, you look through this thing, and again, I don't know what's going to affect the market. Sometimes the market just shrugs all this stuff up. Again, a lot of home data, a lot of manufacturing data right there, again, for you. A lot of also bond sales going on next week, like 5-year note auctions, 2-year note auctions, all that stuff. So we'll see what the bond market has to say. Again, more mortgage data here coming out on Wednesday. You got your oil data coming out. Again, more bill auctions coming out, 7-year, 17, 2-year. And a lot of Fed speakers too, by the way. Then on Thursday, we'll get our GDP, which is going to be interesting. We'll get our jobs data. You can see they're actually expecting a drop. And the GDP price index, GDP growth rate, and all that good stuff. PCE prices, Chicago PMI, they're expecting an increase. Michigan consumer sentiment, pending home sales. That's going to be another big one for home data. Kansas Fed composite index, manufacturing index, more bill sales coming out. And then you look at Friday, core PCE. That's going to be coming out right there. They expect that basically to stay the same. PCE price index month over month, year over year. They're expecting a slight increase. Personal income month over month, personal spending. And then you'll have Fed Powell speaking at 11:30 on Friday. So expect Friday to maybe be a little volatile, right? Because this last Friday was just nothing was going on. And they were speaking in the morning the whole time. So I didn't listen to a word they said. Let me know if you did. So again, a lot of data coming out. And we've had, like last week, we had multiple days with no news, right? This week, we're going to have every day has news. And so you should see a lot more volatility come back in and start swinging like crazy on a daily basis. But again, we'll find out as the algos get triggered for whatever data, whether it's bad or good or something. So we'll see if, bad news is still good news or not when it comes to the manufacturing and stuff. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Please hit that like and subscribe button on your way out, guys. Really appreciate it. And I will see you guys for Monday's update. Have a good one.